Yeah, so thank you.
Hi, everybody. This is Uma Pemaraji. Welcome to the Strategy Room. Hope wherever you are today that you're having a fabulous day. We are into midweek, and it's over the hump day for the week. We're hoping that wherever you are, your travels are taking you to fun and interesting places, and that if you're at work today, that you're doing everything you can to stay centered and grounded. And on that note, I have a wonderful guest here with me in the studio for the whole hour. He has come on Strategy Room once before, but it was an abbreviated interview, and I wanted him to come back to share more of his story and to talk with you directly so that if you had questions, you could actually email me with your questions and talk to Frank McKinney, who's here in the studio, who I see as a Renaissance man. I feel like you have done an amazing life story, even though obviously you're not even halfway through your life yet at this point. But you started out as a real estate entrepreneur and businessman. Then that transformed itself into becoming someone who was destined to do some amazing philanthropy, but also become a writer for books to try to inspire people, to get people focused in ways and to have them think about life in ways they may not have thought of before. And you've given back in amazing ways. And you're from Florida. That's where you live right now. And someone who I feel that does not fit the box, does not fit the mold. You've broken through all kinds of barriers, which is something that I think is so important for our audience to know more, to meet individuals like yourself, to talk more about their story, to give people who are going through rough times right now, challenging times, some inspiration that there are, you can take a look at the glass half empty or half full, basically. I mean, it's as simple as that. And that's what you've done. And I find that to be so great. And so great to have you here.
Well, thank you. I'm glad to be here in the studio this time.
In the studio, instead of remote in Florida where we had some technical issues. So I want you guys to email us with questions of Frank McKinney, who has such a long resume. Let's talk first a little bit about the work that you do in Florida. I mean, you've taken and transformed home because you're also an artist who has been designing these amazing homes. I want to show video of some of the homes that you've designed and sold on the market out there. If we can see some of the video that I know that we have. Kevin, is it loaded in yet? Hopefully it will be. But in any event, you're right on the beach there which is so beautiful. Yep. And talk to me for a moment about the location, why you decided to take a chance on Florida and design some amazing homes. And where did this inspiration come from?
Those are just stunning images. This is the 36th home that we've built on the ocean since 1991. And I'm not a developer, I'm not a builder, I'm not a contractor, I'm an artist.
You're an artist.
And that artistry that you see on the screen there really represents my own canvas that happens to be set on a sun-drenched ocean known as the Atlantic Ocean. And so, for me to express my artistry in the form of creating these beautiful homes like this, I believe every one of us has a professional highest calling and a spiritual highest calling. And in my case, I stumbled across my profession. I'm not a trained architect. I'm not a trained builder.
So that's what I find so interesting. You were never trained in this realm.
I wasn't, and I started with a $50,000 fixer-upper back in 1986. A bad house in a bad part of town, and I fixed it up, and I really didn't ever consider that line of work as commodity driven, meaning always thinking about the bottom line. I built the most beautiful little $50,000 house even back in 1986. I mean, I really felt that was a way for me to express my artistry, and then we just started adding a few more zeros, and so now almost 25 years later, I'm very in touch with that professional highest calling. It's a gift, and it would be a shame to waste it. And so there you see. These are the kind of homes that for people might think, my gosh, how could they possibly sell, and who would buy them? But people did buy them. You've sold one home, I think, somewhere at $30 million, and it's sold. And again, that helps you keep going further and further, just pushing the limits, and also allowing yourself to express yourself as creatively as you wanted to, and I think that's really interesting. The house we're looking at now, Aquiliana, is a Tahitian word for waterflower, and that house is built on speculation. So for the viewers, I don't have a buyer in mind when I put the shovel in the ground. So the risk is borne by me and solely me. I don't even have partners.
Why do you take those kind of risks? What makes you take
You know,
that type of a risk?
I believe I believe that each and every one of us should exercise our risk threshold like a muscle. Our tolerance for risk should be exercised. Eventually, it becomes stronger and able to withstand greater pressure. So I get 8 hours of sleep at night, and I have still a full head of hair. I know no other way. And so when I started with that $50,000 fixer-upper in 1986, that was probably the biggest risk I ever took. And there's a wonderful philosopher that not a lot of people are familiar with by the name of, what's his name?
Anyway, he said,
I lost it.
It's okay.
He said that we've been told our entire lives that we fear the unknown. And how is it possible we fear something that we don't know? What we fear is leaving the known. We fear leaving that 9 to 5, that cubicle mentality. And so I didn't have the benefit of pursuing a formal education. I went to 4 high schools in 4 years, and it wasn't by choice. My father was not in the military. I was asked to leave one school after the next. And so I wasn't confined to any box, and I wasn't afraid of the known. But
you were a maverick even as a child, though, as I understand it. You were someone that didn't fit didn't fit the mold of what, normal, typical kids of your age do. I mean, you had your own path that you wanted to follow.
Yeah, and I started following that path at 18. I left Indiana. I'm a corn-fed country boy at heart.
Don't
let the jacket and the hair fool you. I am from Indiana, and I was brought up on right outside a farm. And that Midwest, the morals and values never left me, even though I left the Midwest. And I came to Florida seeking that professional highest calling. At 18, you don't know what it is.
You don't know what it is.
But you begin to realize what it's not.
Yes, that's true.
And even as we go throughout our lives, we realize what our professional highest calling is not. And we make changes during our life. I happened to grab onto mine when I was 22, which is this real estate business. And
it was a time in Florida real estate was doing pretty well, was it not? Or was it at the...
Yes, Florida until recently, it's always doing well.
Right, but at that time it was hot, it was something to think about, you could make some money, and for a young person like yourself at that, it must have been very alluring.
It was, Florida is a very transient community. People are always moving in and moving out. There's 1,000 people that move into Florida every day still. And so I decided to take advantage of that. Mm-hmm. And instead of renting the American dream, nobody wants to rent the American dream. You want to own the American dream. And I was taking people out of a rental situation, that were renting $500-600 a month and selling them the American dream. And really at the level that we're at now, the house, the Aquiliana house that you just saw, it's a $29 million spec home. I'm still selling the American dream. It's just to people who can afford a property with a few more zeros in that first one.
Did you grow up believing in the American dream, though? Were you fed those values from the very beginning?
My father was a banker, very conservative, ultra conservative. 7 of the same suits that were black and the little wingtip shoes. Probably that's why I turned out the way I did, because I really didn't want to go that way. But I was always taught that you are not to have a welfare mentality. Mickey, that was my nickname, Mickey. The welfare system is one thing, but the welfare mentality, that's very dangerous. And entitlement mentality is not something you want to grow up with. And so even though my father was not entrepreneurial at all, he believed in the free enterprise system and capitalism. And I pursued it with vigor from the moment I hit the shores when I was 18 years
old.
old.
So aside from being corn-fed in the Midwest, you were also fed those values from the very beginning about taking responsibility, not being dependent on handouts.
No, you don't do that.
Free enterprise system is the way to go.
Is the way to go, yep. And capitalism was the way to go. And so I, without knowing what that meant, because I never even studied a class I was a tennis instructor. And I had a business when I was 19 teaching people, wealthy people, how to hit a fuzzy yellow ball better. Mm-hmm. I grew that business into 4 different clubs in South Florida. I was earning a 6-figure a year income before I turned 20. But where I earned my PhD in entrepreneurship, my master's in real estate, if you will, was on that tennis court teaching the wealthy how to hit that backhand better. But you fascinated me. If you were one of my students, you fascinated me. How did you get to live like this? Mm-hmm. I'm young and I'm impressionable. Right. I want your story.
You want my story. Exactly.
And you know what? When you succeed, no problem. I'll tell you my story, right?
Exactly.
Everybody that I taught tennis to, oh, Frank, you know what? I was a trial lawyer, won many cases, but you know what I did with my money? I put it into real estate. You hear it one story like that, it's entertaining the first time. I can't tell you how many stories I heard.
Over and over again.
And I said, okay, very simple. I want to be like you. Mm-hmm. I footprint people. Mm-hmm. I don't go to school. I footprint. So I would take what I felt resonated with my personality, and instead of talking about it, Uma. That's the problem today. We over spreadsheet our lives. We overthink things. When we're young and blissful, we can be ignorant, and we pursue. The only difference between me and many people watching, I'm a doer. I go out and do. I don't talk about it. I make it happen. And that's what I want to see people do more of going into 2010.
Well, see, that's the thing. I mean, okay, talking and doing are two different things, but when you are bombarded with headlines and the energy that's out there of everybody saying it's doom and gloom, it's not getting better, it's getting worse, and what's happening in Washington is going to dictate the rest of your life and our children and our grandchildren's lives, that we're mortgaging their future by virtue of passing health care or whatever's going on, the stimulus bill. Yes, those things are going on, but you're a believer, I know, that you don't have to be dictated or governed by that energy, that it's all about how you set the course in your life and how you discipline your mind.
Before we started, talk about your daughter. Aren't you concerned with the 603 channels that spew that negativity on a regular basis for your daughter?
And I'm in the business, and I'm a journalist, and I've seen it over the years transform itself into this, and it bothers me greatly. It does.
And so the age of innocence, and this will be book number 6, the bastardization of the First Amendment. I'm all for the First Amendment, but when did it have to turn as negative as it has, and how it gets to our psyche?
It does. It affects everything.
So here's the solution. Here's the solution: is we don't want to turn off Fox News. No, we have to watch the news. But at the same time, we need to filter that news, and we need to create our own reality, not live somebody else's.
Exactly.
That's what I see people doing. They're living through the Tiger Woods saga. They're living through this everyday headlines is new.
Whatever the news happens to be at the moment, you live through that prism.
But why is that part of that is not part of me.
Right.
So. Oddly, what I believe in doing too is when you're working, you create an environment that will quarter off that negativity and keep it. I work from a treehouse.
I was just going to talk about that because I wanted, for those who don't know, he has a beautiful office in a treehouse that overlooks the beach right there.
Yes.
And that's so inspiring every day to see that and to feel that energy coming towards you every day. That's amazing.
That's where I wrote all my books from.
He's talking about book number 6. We have 3 of the books right in front of us that have really generated lots of headlines, which are amazing. And I want to put them up on the screen. Burst This was a book that came out a few years back that talked all about real estate strategies.
That's new. That just came out. That's new.
Oh, this is the new one. I'm sorry. Pardon me.
That's right.
This is the one where people want to know how to be like you because you mirrored and footprinted other people. This is what you give people strategies about how to footprint some of the things that you've done.
But notice the title.
Yes.
I was so tired of the negativity around the bubble.
Right.
I almost wanted to, if I didn't have this hand of God finger touching the shoulder, I wanted to use another finger on the cover of that book, and it wasn't the index finger. I had it. It was, burst this already, because what I did is I went back and studied 6 different real estate cycles dating back to the mid-'70s to show the reader we've been here before, how long it lasts, and when we're going to come out of the backside of it. And so this, you referenced half full, half empty person. For the half empty person, this is a bubble. For me, it's a crystal ball. It's a force field around your real estate. If you do what I've done for 25 years, bubbles are self-created. Don't go blaming the government for creating the bubble. I've done very well in these cycles. And
this is opportunity time. This is a time to really take advantage of what's out there.
Millionaire maker days.
Millionaire
maker, low-hanging fruit days.
Right.
They will not be there forever.
They won't be there forever.
And you have to take what you referred to when we first sat down. Frank, you look a little different, and you're different, march to the beat of a different drummer. You need to take a contrarian's approach to the market today. You need to embrace that contrarian approach that says everybody's running for the exit signs. You need to calmly walk through the entrance door. That's where opportunities are made. Those who will take the risk in times like this are the ones who will be rewarded handsomely.
Okay, but how do you stay calm in a time? Okay, you're hearing all these different voices around you. You're seeing the news. You're hearing the headlines, and you're even dealing with family members who may be saying, "Wait a minute." You're talking about risk, and you're dealing with our future, and you're dealing with our money, our safety net here. How do you get past that to allow people to block out some of those voices and to stay on that path and to say, you know what, believe it. I'm going to believe this. I'm going to stick with it, and I know it's going to work.
You use the word belief. I have to, again, getting back to creating my own reality. I'm not going to follow headlines. I'm going to make them. That Aquiliana house you saw, that's the world's largest and most expensive certified green home. So
yes,
nobody's going that direction at the ultra high-end level. I'm going to be the first. And I went through a rigorous certification process on that house. Green police, I call them. They were all over that house for 18 months. I'm going to be a trendsetter. I'm going to risk in setting the trend versus sitting back like a lemming and following, the trend. In real estate, you hear that axiom, location, location, location. You ever ask yourself why they say it 3 times? Now, to me, location, location, location applies if you're buying your own single-family home or you're buying a vacation home. But if you want to make money in real estate, you need to go the opposite direction. It's like the gold rush. The first person to stake the claim in the gold rush made the money. The other two, so that's the first location. The other two are just followers. And if you're last to the party, like a lot of people were in the run-up that led to the the crash in 2006, you lost money. So be the pioneer. Be the one who's willing to embrace the dichotomy that's found in taking a risk.
But again, I go back to that. If you've been conditioned a certain way and you want to break out of the bubble and you want to look at the crystal ball, how do you make that leap? You
need to stop surrounding yourself with people that are going to crush your dreams.
Bingo. I agree with that. That's exactly what I wanted to hear
And
from
so
you.
that's why it's funny. Yes, maybe even a little eccentric working out of a treehouse, but I'll tell you what, I got nobody talking in my ear telling me, Frank, you're going to build a $29 million green home on spec.
Did people think you were crazy? Were people trying to discourage you from...
Well, no, we've proven them wrong so many times that now people...
But in spite of that, they're trying to say, is it a chink
I'm sure behind the scenes they would say, what's he doing now?
Is it chink of the armor? They're looking for that chink of the armor saying, okay, this can't possibly work.
He's going to be dumpster diving.
Right, exactly.
Yes, finally he's going to, we go to the race. We don't go to the race to watch the race. We go to the race to watch the crash, right? I mean, I don't, but many people do.
Absolutely.
So that's what they're thinking. And you know what though? I would rather regret in my life, because we're going to have regrets as we go through life. I would rather regret what I did, not what I didn't do. I do not want to be sitting there in my rocking chair at 80 years old saying I should have. I want to be saying, you know what? Maybe that idea of that house back in 2009. Boy, that wasn't a great... But I did it. I tried it. I executed.
Now, going from Verse This to another book that's resonating in a big way. And this one you wrote a little while back, but...
all at the same time.
You wrote, but I mean, they were published at different times?
On the same day.
On the same day?
Yes.
Because I thought they were released at different times. Okay.
That was the crazy thing we did, too.
Okay.
The publisher said that was ridiculous.
But you released all at the same time. All right. My mistake. Sorry about that. But The Tap, we've talked about this before, but this book I adore. I adore this book. Putting it up there on the screen. This is the one that I believe resonates on such a personal level with me. You have a quote up here saying, our prayers are answered. McKinney reveals how responsible stewardship guarantees success in the business of life. And that's from Rich DeVos. And I believe that. And I think it's so clear, the steps that you lay out here for people to understand that those tap moments, as you point out, we have them every day. You got to tune in. You got to know that they're there and believe in that and be in tune with yourself.
Yep.
Keep out the other voices out there, the negativity and all that, and then tune in.
So let's use a different part. So we're done with the real estate. Let's go to, this is succeeding in the business of real estate.
Right.
This is succeeding in a more important business.
Yes.
The business of life.
Business of life.
Yes. And so in times like we're in now, how many times have we heard, when are we going to get out of this mess? When is the mortgage meltdown going to stop? When is the credit crisis going to stop? How am I going to get out from underneath? You're not. You're going to give. You're going to realize that get that word get out of the mind, and you're going to begin to embrace the sharing of your blessings, because everyone watching, everyone listening has been blessed with the ability to succeed at some level. And the sooner you realize those blessings are not meant for our sole benefit, but they're meant to assist others who will likely not succeed at your level, or my level, the sooner that whole territory that you pray for at night. Now, a number of different religions represented today, watching.
Absolutely.
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
We all pray the prayer for more.
Right.
More health, wealth, happiness, love, peace. When God realizes that you're a responsible steward for the more that you already have, and don't tell me you don't have it. Come to Haiti with me sometime, and you'll see how much you really have.
Of course.
When He realizes you're a responsible steward for that more, you will be, I've seen it happen, given the more you pray for, because you've been identified as a responsible steward. That's what the tap book's about. It's about that image, the hand of God tapping you on the shoulder, Uma. and recognizing that as a tap moment.
Where did that, again, for those who didn't see the original interview that we talked about, where did that awareness come from? Where did you find that within yourself to recognize something so personal, so deep, and so profound?
Each and every one of us have what I refer to as epiphanous tap moments in our life. It's whether or not we recognize them that will determine if it's going to make a difference for the rest of our life once we recognize it. So for me, it was in 1997 when an article was written in the newspaper about a big spec home, the most expensive spec home we sold in Florida at $12 million. So you've been in the paper, obviously.
Yeah.
You want to see how you look and your hair and all. Well, on the other side of the page was an article about a homeless man living under the bridge in Palm Beach County. If I don't blow dry my hair and I don't shave and I wear little scruffy clothes, I could easily look like I lived under the bridge. And there, but for the grace of God, go I. This man looked just like me. And remember my past. 4 high schools in 4 years. I happened to take a right turn at the right time when I could have taken a left turn. And I was so grateful. I couldn't even finish the article on me. I got on the phone. I called the soup kitchen that was in the photo, serving him a meal out of the back of a beat-up old van, and said, I'd like to volunteer. And that was my first recognition of a tap moment, but the most important thing is this is the first time I acted on it.
Acted on it. There you go.
And
that opened up the floodgate.
It didn't. It was just a tiny little beginning for me.
Well, the beginning, but you were, from that moment on, though, you were never not.
I was never
not open
tapped,
to it.
Right? No, I was never the same. And then I talk about in the book the 7 stages for feeling the tap, and at stage 1, I'll go very quickly. Stage 1 is there are people viewing that have no concept of what I'm talking about. Stage 2 says, I get this sharing, but I don't want to do it. Stage 3 says, you know what? Stage 3 says, I'm going to share, but I'm not going to enjoy it. I'm going to give. I'm an usher at a 7 a.m. Mass, and I see plenty of people taking the dollar and crunching it up and diving it into my collection basket with a scowl on their face. They hate giving.
They feel pressured. They feel obligated. They feel
right. It's peer. Yeah. Stage 4 says, you know what? I'm going to give, but I'm only going to give when if I get recognized for it, if people are watching. Stage 5 says, I'm going to give, but only when the getting's good for me. So I've had a successful year, I'm going to give then. The big breakthrough is in stage 6 and 7, where it becomes a part of your DNA, becomes a part of your fabric. So the big houses that you saw on the screen there, I build those.
But you don't live in one.
No, I don't. But I build those for the benefit of the folks that we take care of in Haiti. Through our charity.
Of course, right.
So there's a purpose.
There's a purpose for it. I see that. But I think, okay, on the flip side of that, for those people who might think, well, these are gorgeous, elaborate, amazing homes, I found it very interesting, but I guess not, also based on getting to know who you are and understanding more about your personality and what you're made of, that you don't live that way personally.
No, I don't.
You don't have a home that mirrors what we've just seen.
I don't.
You live very simply.
I live very simply. I haven't changed. Because I've seen what excess, I should say. I've seen what excess. We are not born, as a species, we're not born to handle excess. We just aren't. It's a minefield out there. Excess causes the mines that are laid in your life's field to become more concentrated, and wherever you step, you're going to blow up. And so I live in a house that's 75 years old. It's on the beach. It's a beautiful home as far as its location.
Sure.
But, I drive a hybrid, a 2002 Honda Insight. I have 2 Yugos, which were, I think you'll remember the Yugo. A lot of people watching won't even remember that.
I know what a Yugo is. God, come on, I know this.
But that's my life. I provide a lifestyle for those who, you can't even fathom the way some of these people live. I don't really desire to do that.
I understand that, but in the big picture, it does not surprise me that this is who you are. Because I see the purpose, as you say, you build these amazing homes to help the people in Haiti. That's your mission.
My wife says we build the big houses so we can build a lot of the small houses, and that's very profound. It's very true.
It is.
And we've built, as of the end of 2009, we'll have built 11 villages in Haiti.
I think we have some of the video. Do we not have some of the videos from the villages in Haiti?
Not of the villages, no.
Okay, not of the villages itself. Okay, but we do have, but we do know that you do this, and you've really made some terrific strides forward in this realm, because these are people that, for those who don't know about Haiti, it's one of the most unbelievable places on earth.
Poorest country in the Western Hemisphere.
Yeah, poorest country in the Western Hemisphere. People are struggling beyond your comprehension.
So,
children, it breaks my heart.
What we do is there's a wonderful saying, and I hope you go to the website and you'll see the villages we're building in Haiti. Compassion which we all would feel by looking at the images of what takes place in
Sure.
Haiti. If you have a child in Haiti, there's a 22% chance it doesn't see its 5th birthday. And the life expectancy in Haiti is 47 years.
And this is 2009, going into 2010, and this is still going on. This is a reality, folks. This is happening. This is happening in the Western Hemisphere.
And I'm all for what's going on with the efforts in Africa.
Right.
I'm good for that. But let's put a little attention to a country that's as poor as any country in Africa. It's 2.5 hours from our United States shores.
Exactly.
And so I'm not waiting for the government. We go over there and we create these self-sufficient villages. I'm not into charity. I'm into self-sufficiency and creating a self-sufficient life for our beneficiaries and through our donors. And so, every time I go over there, 11 villages we will have built by the end of this year. I come back culture shocked in such a healthy way, though, to know that our efforts here and the donors, now we have so many donors that are involved with our projects. You buy a book from us, the money goes to the charity. They want to be a part of something like that, and we're so glad to provide them with that ability.
Do you see a shift, though, on the planet in a sense that where people do, as you just pointed, they want to be part of something, that people are looking to be part of something bigger than themselves? Are you seeing more of that, more of people wanting to give of themselves in ways that they may not have thought of even like a few years back?
That's my message in the tap, is I want you to be tapped.
Are you seeing that more?
I am seeing that. They want that. Yeah. What's the outlet, though? I need a counterbalance to this negativity that we're talking to. And what is the counterbalance? I forgot the statement I was going to say. Compassion without action is a waste of emotion. Mm-hmm. Don't just feel it. To me, that's the start. But it's not closing the loop.
Right.
Closing the loop is acting on that compassion. So if it's like we can buy a chicken over there for $8 mm-hmm. and a family can eat, do that kind of thing. You get these solicitations in the mail this time of year. Check them out. Most of them are pretty good, and act on one.
Right.
Maybe you can't go to Haiti with me, but you can certainly work through other organizations that do provide that kind of relief. But remember that compassion without action is a waste of emotion.
Did that come to you after the instant feeling of the connection with that homeless individual, or did it come?
I'm a doer. I'm not going to sit there and I'll cry over things. I will go over there and see things that just bring tears to my eyes, but I'm not going to just experience that emotion without doing something with it. And so, when we feel that emotion, we have two choices. It's act or not act, or react. And now, just seeing the looks on the faces of the kids, if we're building an orphanage, for example, or a school, and how far the money goes over there, how far we can stretch the dollar over there, that is priceless for us to be able to do that.
It is indeed. I know we're getting a lot of emails, and I want to take a pause just for a second, because I want to get some of our questions, because I know we've got a lot of questions. Uma, I like Frank, but the internet changes vastly how real estate works and will recover. This is from William May. I've been practicing in real estate in 1976 with my father in New York City. The internet has undermined the need for so much city center office real estate and has changed the rural suburban urban balance for housing. The internet changes things for property as drastically as autos and paved roads did in the 30s. This is from Bill in NYC. What do you say to that? Do you believe that?
Is that a question? Is it a statement?
It's a statement. That's his view.
So I hear something like that. I want you to act on this, Bill.
Right.
So Bill, use it to your advantage. If it seems to me that you're upset or you're not happy with what the internet has done to real estate, I will tell you, if I had $100 to spend on marketing, I would spend 90 of it on my internet presence. So if you're competing out there, as you have since 1976, go to our website, frank-mckinney.com. Take a look at what we do to market to an infinitesimally small number of people that can afford what I do for a living.
Sure.
So, has it changed the landscape? Certainly, but in my opinion, I think it's there to be taken advantage of.
It's out there.
Oh, yes.
Right. Again, this question always comes up. In fact, whenever there's somebody out there doing good works for people in other countries, why
not here?
Why not here?
Why not here? Very simple.
And this is from Daryl.
Daryl, listen.
Who's in Maryland?
Two answers to that. Our charity started in 1998, and we were solely domestic until 2002. In 2002, or by 2002, we were buying houses, renting them, and buying them, fixing them, and renting them for $1 a month. I still do that to this day. A country like Haiti has no social service net. If you want to be caught by the social service net here in the United States, you can be caught. So we realized, okay, well, our government does a great job of the social service netting of people. Let's take it to a place that doesn't have that. Domestically, 25% of our donors' dollars stay here, and here's how they're used. We get a call from a priest, a rabbi, a pastor, that says, Frank, there is a couple with a child living in their car and showering on the beach. Can you help them? Now, a typical charity would have to take it to the board. And
Exactly.
I hate red tape. I hate it. I deal with it in my business every day, so if I can cut through it. So we get calls like that in this economy, Daryl, all the time. By 5 o'clock that night, that family, and we'll check it out to make sure they're not just scams. There's a lot of people who scam charities. If that's legit, they will be sleeping in a hotel, and we will be helping them with first, last, and security. That's the kind of, we do the instant kind of
immediate,
just extraction,
right,
and put them someplace safe if it's a family. And there's a lot of things we have to turn down domestically, but that's how we use our domestic money in this economy.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
Very powerful.
This is from Joe. He wants to know, when you design these homes, do you picture the landscaping as well? When you put your ideas together, I guess that's what he means. Artistically, how it comes together.
You know, when we do these homes, Joe, we're doing them in South Florida, and a lot of people are coming to live there don't come from South Florida. They come from the cold of New York or Chicago or overseas somewhere. So the landscaping element is critical. Matter of fact, of our line items in our budget, that is one of the largest. That the images you saw on the screen there of Aquiliana, we had a $400,000 landscaping budget to create those waterfalls and water gardens and all the beauty. There's 118 different palm trees there. So the house really, it's critical, but the landscaping that goes around it is, it's an outdoor room. It really is.
It's amazing. Bill's responding back saying that I'm not mad about the change. I'm just mad, just that you have to react to it in terms of about the internet issues.
But we want to react, and we want to take advantage of it, don't we? Don't we want to make money with it? Yeah. I mean, I'll tell you, the videos, the things that we can host on our website. Here's a Bill, right?
Yeah.
Bill, case in point. We sold a $30 million house to a 34-year-old guy about 5 years ago. He took a video tour, not a virtual tour, but a very nice, just like you saw on the screen there, video tour. Let me check.
Can you run some of that video again, guys?
Let me check.
Thank you.
Yeah. So he's sitting in his office looking at that. He just sold a company, his company, to a publicly traded company for about $400 million. He saw that and said, let me get on my Gulfstream 4 plane and come down and see if that's for real. He got on the plane, said, wow, that video it's actually better in person. Let me go and make an offer. And that was on a Tuesday, Uma. He looked at the house. On Friday, and Bill, he was sleeping there.
Oh, my God.
The power of the internet because of that video tour.
Because of the video tour.
Yep.
That's powerful. That's really powerful. And this, you couldn't do that 5 years ago even. You couldn't even, they couldn't even think about stuff like that. And now it's all there before you. It's again about reacting to it, seizing the moment. And it's about those, again, that's a tap moment, also about seizing opportunity. It's all about seeing what's in front of you. I think that's just so, it seems so basic, and yet it's very difficult, I think, for a lot of people to get past those blockages that are within them, because they've built walls over time, and you've been conditioned, as I used that word earlier, conditioning from all kinds of sources, from family, from your colleagues to your friends, about how things should be, and what you should do, and you should get the shoulds out of there, right?
And the whole reference I made, Anthony DeMello is the name of the philosopher, by the way. Anthony DeMello, about that reference to change. You are afraid of changing that 9 to 5, that cubicle mentality. We are afraid of leaving the known. We're not afraid of the unknown. It's not possible to be afraid of something you don't know.
You've been a risk taker, you've been very successful, but I'm sure there are risks you've taken that didn't go well. I mean, or some things that happened that maybe along in the early stages, perhaps, that might not have been as...
Yeah, I think the early stages, I was stuck in that research mode forever. I wouldn't pull the trigger on even that first deal for over a year.
Okay, all right. You obviously were conditioned in a certain way too, but you were trying to get out of it.
I was an irresponsible risk taker in my youth. I just needed to channel that in a more responsible way. But when it came time to me putting my money where my mouth was, because this was no other people's money, this was me, my hard-earned money buying that first house. I was very afraid. So that was something I actually kind of look back on and saying, why were you so afraid to take that first step? And, so that was a regret.
Do you no longer face or define things that confront you as fear?
No, I'm afraid.
You're afraid.
I want to make sure it's, I have this continuum, this little line in the book that is called the risk continuum. On the one end is a daredevil, the other one is a phobic. The phobic's afraid to get out of bed in the morning because the ground's too cold, and the daredevil has no regard for his life. I'm neither one of those. But But what I realize is I want to work on moving my hash mark down that continuum a little bit. I want to embrace, when I say I'm afraid, I am afraid every day of my life. I'm afraid that house may not sell. I'm afraid that releasing
is that a motivator though for you? Does that help fuel?
Fear is a wonderful motivator, but the other thing about fear is when we feel it, that's an important sensation. The problem is it tends to stifle. It tends to be the stop sign in front of our action. And so for me, when I embrace it and say, okay, it's there. There it is again.
That fear.
But you've got to move through it. You've got to get through that barrier that fear presents. So recognizing that I'm afraid. Okay, I'm not saying I'm not afraid of it. No, I am afraid of a lot of things. But not letting it stop me. That's the primary difference.
That's the difference, absolutely. And when you go through that, are you fully aware that you are plowing through it and that
it might not work?
It might not work? Yeah.
That it might not work. You know, my hobby, I'm an ultra marathon runner. I run these races that exceed 100 miles. And so I decided to try to apply for, and I ultimately was accepted to participate in the world's toughest world's toughest race, according to the National Geographic. It's a 135-mile nonstop foot race across the Death Valley Desert in July, where the temperatures exceed 130 degrees. The ground temps are 200 degrees. It's run on blacktop pavement. Invitation only. 90 people invited from around the world. 17 countries were represented at the start line this year. Gun goes off on middle of July.
Oh, gosh.
And it is you're running 135 miles through the desert on blacktop nonstop, because there's a clock. You got to finish before the gun goes off again. And that, that's seemingly impossible. And I know the first time I heard it, that there are actually people that run in that kind of heat for that long, nonstop, no sleep. We're talking 48 hours. I thought, that's not even physically possible. Then I did a little research. Then I realized, you know what? When I first referenced that, and I referenced it to you, your first reaction is, just like mine, no effing way. That is not possible.
Right.
But when you begin, and this is wonderful about life too, when you begin to take that 135-mile jaunt and say, you know what, Uma, could you run 135 miles nonstop through the desert? Your answer would responsibly be no. Could you run 1 mile 135 times? When I first asked that, your brain says, wait a second, with a little training, proper diet, I do, get a coach, which I did.
Right.
Maybe I could do that. And that's how I approach that race. That's how I approach life. And I've finished that race 4 times. There's only 43 people in the world that have done that.
Why did that appeal to you?
Oh.
Why did you want to go through that type of endurance?
You know what? I think
to train for that.
The training is hard, but the race is hell, but it's over in 2 days. The training leading up to it is just mind-blowing. I have a room in my house that I converted into an ecosystem that replicates the desert, where I have a treadmill inside.
Oh my gosh.
It's like a glorified sauna where I can crank it up.
Yeah.
But having something set upon your heart, like that race was set upon my heart. And in life, we have these opportunities that lay themselves on our heart. Are we going to pursue or not pursue? I feel most alive when I experience extremes for the first time. And I think everybody does. Different, varying levels of extremes, but let's agree that we feel most alive when experiencing whatever the extreme is.
I'm with you.
So that was the moat. And I've always been a runner, a casual runner. I never even ran a marathon before I tried this race. And I thought, is it possible for me to convert what was, mindset and physically, to what needed to be? And could I... I'm competing with... I'm not competing. I'm trying to just survive, right? There's like 5 guys that go to win that race. The rest of us go to survive. Could I really keep up with those folks? I know you're moving very slow. I mean, you're not like I'm running a marathon here. It's not a competition. And I felt, I think I could do that if I really focused in on the training that was necessary and the research. But then eventually I got to put my running shoes on. I can't just research it.
Right.
And I got to get out there and do it. And I've done it. I've done it 4 times.
When you're going through it, are you thinking, what did I get myself into? Why, do you, in the middle of all this, when it's just really so intense that you're going, oh my God, this is,
Often in training, because I do a 100-mile training run just to get ready for that.
But when you're actually in that race?
When I'm in the race, I'm deathly afraid of I'm afraid of this in life too, and we all should be, the 3-letter acronym DNF, by my name, did not finish. 90 people were invited, on average, about 65 finish. So that means 25 elite athletes. You have to write. It's like getting into Harvard Law, the dissertation you have to write to get invited. You can't just apply. You have to have a resume to get in. 65 people don't finish. So you better believe that as I'm starting to feel some heat, effects of the heat and all of that, I'm not feeling very good. But here's the takeaway. So I've been laid out flat, eyes rolled back in my head, and suffering from heat exhaustion, close to heat stroke. With persistence, patience, faith, and the passage of time, a moment that you would think, if you were my wife, and my wife is on my crew, and she sees me shaking uncontrollably and really having a serious health issue, calming me down, cooling me down, laying me in the van, covering me with a towel, allowing some time to pass. Now, typically when we're ill as little children, it's time to stay in bed and just forget about it. No. That was the most significant takeaway for me in that race is we all have debilitating moments in our life. Relationships, jobs, what have you. For me, that was a very physically debilitating moment. And to allow that to pass, and to thinking, I don't know if this is going to pass. I mean, I cannot get back on my feet. But with that faith and patience, that ill feeling passed, and I was able to put my shoes back on, and I have one of those big Legionnaires hats, that covers your neck and all, and get back out there. And instead of turning around and walking toward the hotel and pulling myself out, I just started walking toward the finish line.
Wow. That's really
so you can get through the debilitating moments.
Yeah,
Patience, persistence, faith, and the passage of time.
And talk about faith for just a moment. I want to talk about your other book, too, which I think is so charming. It's called Dead Fred, Flying Lunchboxes, and Good Luck Circles for Children, which I think is wonderful. And your daughter inspired you with this book. But I want to get to that in just a moment. But faith for a moment, in terms of the way you hold your faith close to your heart. Talk to me about that for a moment, and how that gets you through every moment in the day.
Well, I was brought up Catholic. I'm the oldest of 6 kids. I'm an usher at a Catholic church at the 6 a.m. or 7 a.m. Mass. My daughter goes to Catholic church, Catholic school. I had a really good, solid base when I was a kid. I definitely wavered and was the wayward son, the prodigal son. But having that base, I came back to it when I moved to Florida. And I really did. When I was in my 20s, I came back to it. And so, God making sure that I'm being a responsible steward for what He's put me here to do is a very important calling for me. I take that responsibility very seriously. And so, and my wife, very, very faithful, very calm. She's a very calming influence in my life, and my daughter too.
Are they your anchor?
Yeah, my wife's definitely very anchoring. I mean, I met her in '87. I started my real estate career in '86, so it's pretty obvious.
Sure.
It's not behind every successful man is a strong woman. It should be beside.
She's your real partner through all this. It's fantastic.
Yeah, she's the balance. And so she, I have an addictive personality. I have a personality that loves adrenaline.
Right.
I'm older now, so instead of an adrenaline rush, you kind of picture a guy sitting on a gurney with one of those bags. I have an adrenaline drip now. I need just a little bit of a drip. I just channel it in a I channel it in a responsible way instead of an irresponsible way. I can't deny that part of my personality. I'm not going to fight it. I got to let it be. And so faith is a very, very important part of our daily ritual.
That's wonderful. This new book, not a new book, but this book, which I think is just wonderful that you're going into this part of yourself that's tapping into fantasy and going to that inner child that's within you. Talk to me for a moment about this and why you decided to put this book together. Well,
I think as we get a little older, we realize we're really good at a few things in life, hopefully more than one thing. And so the real estate book, obviously I'm good at that. And the TAP, having run this charity for all these years and really understanding that, I understand that, I'm good at that. But what I'm really good at, too, is my daughter and I have walked to school every single day since pre-kindergarten.
That's such an amazing, amazing thing.
It's not even a street that's been broken.
I just think it's what memories you're building, and this relationship, this bond that the two of you must have together. You walk with her every single day.
Every day. Now, she's 11. We started when she was 4. It's over, if you do the math, it's over 1,200 walks.
That's fantastic.
And so, as we're walking...
Is she at the point where she's Dad, you don't need to do this?
No,
she loves it.
No, me not being there today, because I came up here, and Mom, thing. It's not a mom thing. This is a dad and daughter thing, Mom does it because we want to keep the streak alive, right? And so, you can imagine the stories, the games, the adventures we have made up on all those walks, because we walked through a nature preserve. We walk through this little tropical rainforest, and we walk over a drawbridge where there's a lot of sea life underneath every single day.
That's marvelous.
I collected all of those events, a tremendous amount of entries in my journal, and then codified them into this young reader fiction, deeply fantastical novel that has, now there's a wonderful message though for the readers of this book, young and old, because for every book, or every 10 books that are being sold now, we're learning that 3.5 are being bought and read by adults, the Dead Fred book. The protagonist in this story is a very insecure, very shy, very little self-confidence girl that was displaced from Indiana. And she is charged with this insurmountable task of ridding High Voltage, which is the underwater world, the kingdom that Dead Fred, used to be known as King Frederick IX, she refers to him as Dead Fred, was kicked out of by Megalodon. So you can see the image there.
Yes.
You see the shark?
Yep.
Megalodon, in my story, is a shark that did exist 50 million years ago that came back to life. 50 million years ago, 50 feet long, teeth larger than your hand, and a bite stronger than a T-Rex. It is her charge to rid that underwater fantasy world of
this this creature.
Now she has to gain the confidence to do that. Every child and every adult has a Megalodon in their life. And where do we find the confidence to overthrow it?
Yes.
And so through the story, you can see her gaining confidence in herself.
And this young lady is your daughter on the cover.
That is actually my daughter.
Put the cover back up for a second, because I want people to see again. There she is. She's
Yep.
so beautiful.
So you can see there, my daughter,
Yeah.
there's Megalodon,
Yeah.
and the little fish that's between the other kids, that's Dead Fred. And
I love it. I love it. And this is getting terrific reviews.
It really is.
It's
an uplifting story.
It's an uplifting story.
Positive.
When did you find the time to write these books? I mean, how do you discipline your day? I guess that's also a large part of this, having that structure, having a sense of discipline and focus. And when did you set aside a specific time of day to write these? I mean, obviously there's several books here, so you said you did them all at the same time.
All at the same time.
I can't quite comprehend that. That just is amazing, that you could separate yourself from all these different themes. And I know they're interwoven. They're all
so
connected,
different.
but they're connected in the bigger picture in lots of ways, but they're very different in and of itself in terms of the structure and the content and how you have to present it. I just think, how did you do that?
Well, first of all, I had to convince a publisher, and it wasn't my publisher, my first 2 books, that I wanted to do 3 different genres, write them at the same time, and release them on the same day.
Why the same day? Why was that such a
Because it hadn't been done
aim for you?
before, and I felt that...
Again, the adrenaline rush.
From a marketing standpoint, we get the benefit of a tremendous... So we launched these the same day I unveiled Aquiliana in a very theatrical presentation. So Health Communications, Inc., which is the company that published my books, which did the Chicken Soup for the Soul series, embraced this and said, they were the ones that said, I like the idea. So it was a matter of finding the time. The time wasn't the hard part. It was finding the space to write fiction, inspirational, motivational, and then business real estate.
Real estate, exactly.
And so my first objective was, okay, 3 books is 3 hours a day. And I did the math. I figured, in about a year I could get it done. Well, it didn't work that way. I found, and this is the way it worked for me, creatively, I was more creative in the morning. So that's when I wrote Dead Fred. When I'm thinking business, that's when I wrote the real estate book. So I'd take a break at noonish. And then at night, when I would be reading my Bible, or that was when I was more spiritual and I was kind of relaxed, that's when I wrote the tap. So it was still 3 hours a day. It was just they were separated during the day, but I did it. It actually took me 16 months to write them instead of 12, because the real estate book was supposed to be 300 pages.
Did that frustrate you that it took 16 instead of 12 since you set the goal at 12?
No, because there was so much more material to add, especially as we're melting down in the marketplace. I added like 75 pages to make that book very current, to the real estate book very current to what we just went through. And it worked.
I think it's wonderful. I think, for those of us watching, these books are just so terrific, and they've made great Christmas gifts. I think these are, especially going in 2010. I mean, this would be fantastic, inspirational, motivational. Get people out, get your batteries charged up, energized for the new year. I think it is a wonderful way to start the new year coming up, to go through these books and take something away that can really add some meaning to your life. I can't say that enough, because I just feel like you are here on the planet to make a difference, and and we all have our roles to play. But I think you're doing it in a way that touching many lives, touching many hearts, and I think that speaks for a lot. It really does, and I think it's something. I know your work isn't over. You've got other things that you're thinking about and tackling. But in the few moments we have left, give me your view of about the economy right now, and how do you see what's happening in this country impacting individuals? I mean, we talked about the negativity, yes, but in general, with sort of like not to be so political, but just to give me your sense and your take about the direction so far where we're headed with some of the initiatives that have happened so far.
Well, I mean, politically, I'm very careful. A lot of people want to use our houses for fundraisers. I don't align myself.
Are you like an independent? Or
no, I'm actually registered Republican now, and I was an independent for quite a long time. I actually disdain politics, and when I saw that Congress's approval rating was lower than Saddam Hussein's like last year or something, so I don't. A government is not the answer. That's for sure. A bigger government is not the answer.
Does it amaze you how, despite everything? I mean, I think this is what frustrates me. I think people are looking for leadership today more than anything else. They're hungering for it. And they see what's happening in Washington and the games that are being played and all the promises that are made to clean up government, to do this, to do that, to be true to the voices of the people. They say one thing, they always do another. And even right now with this health care debate that's going on and with the stimulus pack, all these different trade-outs that are going on right now just to get something passed, just to make something happen. I think that's what turns people off. I don't care if you're Republican or Democrat. I don't know what. It just in just terms of selling out, of not being true to yourself, and showing people that is what's continuing on a national level. That has to be so.
It's disheartening.
Disheartening. That's what I was going to use exactly.
Disheartening in the sense that I don't want to see government take away my incentive. I'm not talking about overtaxing me, although that's part of it. Don't turn my sentiment to the point where I don't want to pursue free enterprise anymore. Don't turn my sentiment to where I don't believe in capitalism anymore, and I believe that government's the answer. That's what's happening, and that kind of slow brainwashing is very, very disconcerting. Where I feel that free enterprise is under attack now. And look what's happened in other countries around the world when that has happened. It's very, very dangerous. And so I want to lead by example. I'm always going to be the beacon of realistic optimism and opportunity. That's what I want to be seen as. Not the sky is falling guy or the doomsayer. Realistic, beacon of realistic, not just blind optimism. Realistic. And so the times that we're in now, once we can turn sentiment, and sentiment turns when negativity is quelled and we create our own reality, once sentiment starts to turn, and I sense that it is turning.
I do too.
From a business standpoint, I can tell you from the number of people that are looking at our houses now, I mean the number of qualified showings, and we don't show these houses to people, and they're not museums. I mean, you have to have a balance sheet that says you can buy a $30 million house. Those people, the smart money tends to be ahead of the rest, right? And we're seeing many, many more people out now that have that kind of money that are looking that weren't looking 6 months ago.
Let me try to squeeze in a few questions. Brian Springer saying, "Hi, Uma. Very interesting discussion as always, particularly as it touches on my part of the world. I'm enjoying the show, but can't always watch live as I'm at work and I have missed previous shows. But how far?" Oh, okay, he's asking more also about our guests. He loves the guests, and he loves what you're doing. Keep it up. Great job. He's in Trinidad and Tobago.
Oh, good.
Thank you, Brian, for that.
Brian. Thank you.
Excellent. Let's see, a family from my church starting as orphanage in Haiti. This is from Gary. "My church in Pennsylvania has been sending mission trips to Haiti in recent years. We are a large church and have heard that a family with middle school kids has decided to sell their house, move to Haiti, and start an orphanage. Is there anything for you to do to help advise our church or that family in their goals? Would combining yours and our church's goals create or help improve the overall aims to support the people in Haiti? If so, please contact our church." I mean, this is a way for them to
Very simple. For those of you who are interested on the charity side, go to the frank-mckinney.com website. On the top, you'll see a Caring House Project Foundation link. Click that, and through that, contact us with that question, and we'll try to put you together with our partners in Haiti.
And I bet you really do interface with a lot of interesting groups and organizations out there who are willing to help and want to partner.
We can't do it alone. I mean, I don't have a presence on the ground over there. We partner with people over there.
How often do you go over there?
At least twice a year.
Twice a year. And when you go down there, how long do you spend?
Not long. We're there for 2 days.
Do you take your daughter with you down there?
I have, yeah. Oh, yeah, I'm not afraid to go.
What's the impact on her
She's been going to our village dedications since our first one back in Honduras in 2003. And so her job is to pass out the toys. She passes out to the children who don't have toys.
What a great introduction for her and an upbringing that she's having, being exposed to this and to understand how blessed she is and the importance of giving back.
She only child, right, the temptation would be to have, or she could be very spoiled. Of
course.
But, you know, there isn't a birthday or a holiday that doesn't pass without us first doing what we call a toy sweep in her room, which is going around her room and bagging up stuff that she doesn't need anymore, and then it's time to, you know, maybe get a toy.
I do the same exact thing. That is so interesting. We do the same thing because it's the same exact. She's an only child, and the fact is, you know, you don't want her to be overly spoiled, and you've got to, you know, raise them with this idea of giving back and to understand how fortunate they are.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep. That's right.
We are unfortunately out of time, but again, these books, again, it's Frank McKinney, and it's Frank McKinney, the website, Frank McKinney. Frank-McKinney.com. Go to the website, folks. It is an amazing website. There are so many different departments in that website to check out, and you can find out more about the books, about his projects in Florida, as well as the fantastic effort that's taking place in Haiti. So I do hope that you will check it out and get in touch if you want to help out. Thanks so much for being here.
It was great.
Great to have you here in New York.
I know all three in an hour.
It's so cold up here.
Yeah, yeah.
It's freezing
I don't even have a jacket. This is all I brought.
It's freezing up here on a really cold day here in New York City.
Everybody has black on too. I felt like I was a stoplight out there with red on.
There you go.
Black.
You always want to be different.
No, well, I forgot how black it was here.
There you go. Okay. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you again next time. Have a great day, everybody. That was great.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Good.
Fantastic.